that I've been banned from every single one of them. But with that being said, let's get into the latest story. So General Mark Milley, this is where I want to begin because this is incredible, the stories that are coming out here. Apparently there was a book written by a couple of reporters from the Washington Post that talks about General Milley's time around President Trump, and there's all types of accusations being made. These are some really devastating accusations, I think, more to the character of General Mark Milley and to the complete contempt which he holds against the American people who he's supposed to be, serving. And it almost shows you how we have like a rogue military that has gone off the deep end into this woke progressivism to the point where they're calling American citizens Nazis. And they're embracing the racist ideologies of the left that want to, continually divide this country along racial lines and to convince us to go to war with each other. And ultimately, in my opinion, it has a lot to do with the idea of, this military-industrial complex that's run by these, truly cowardly, ineffective people like Mark Milley, who would go out and say these kinds of things about President Trump and the American people, and making these insinuations about how President Trump was going to launch a coup. And it shows that these people are either compromised by or in bed with the deep state, or both, and this shadow government, this unaccountable permanent bureaucracy which runs our country. And it's not a free republic. It's not a democracy. It's completely owned and operated by corporate interests with their political pawns, and the military is just more than happy to play along with these top brass officials who just get out there and play along with the script and say, it's all they basically use all the talking points of the fake news media to further destroy this country. But I think it's a very targeted destruction. They want to destroy freedom. They want to destroy your personal liberty. They want to take that away, because then they can have just a, unaccountable, permanent military-industrial complex that, sells weapons to both sides in all conflicts and grows beyond anything that, Hitler could have ever imagined, as they want to make, comparisons to Hitler. These people are really disgusting. But you'll remember this article I wrote about General Milley and the comments that he made about the white rage, which he really wanted to understand in his testimony before Capitol Hill, which was just a crazy idea, a crazy admission on his part, in my opinion, of the, turn that our armed forces has taken for the worse. But it gets even worse than that. You guys can read this article. I'll share it with you, and you can watch the video for yourself where he says it. But actually, I'll play the clip. Let's just watch it.
First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that?
I'll tell you what caused it, General Milley. It was because the election was fraudulent. It's because Joe Biden is corrupt and his family is corrupt. It's because they're beholden to our enemies abroad and domestic, including China and all the rest, Ukraine and other countries whose governments and corporations have infiltrated our government at the highest levels. It's because we don't trust the results of an election where fraud is being exposed every single day, even now, this far after the election. And to be honest, it had nothing to do with white rage. It had to do with patriotic anger and, what they call righteous indignation. The idea that this was an assault on our democracy when they stole the election from President Trump, and then they just told us to accept it and to lay down and that we have no control over our democracy. this is a person who obviously is a puppet. And you know what? I'm not even going to go into it because President Trump has some words about General Mark Milley now, and I agree with them. But I'm going to read this article from Breitbart talking about General Mark Milley, who allegedly had fears of Trump coup. Oh, he was terrified. And how apparently, according to the book, he called it a Reichstag moment. Obvious reference to Nazi Germany and Hitler. But it's a short article. I'm just going to read it. Here it is. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Army General Mark Milley, was allegedly so worried that then President Donald Trump might attempt a coup after the presidential election last year that he and other service chiefs discussed a plan to resign rather than carry it out, according to reports about a forthcoming book by two Washington Post reporters. Quote, "This is a Reichstag moment, the gospel of the Führer," unquote, Milley told aides, according to CNN, which obtained advanced excerpts of the book I Alone Can Fix It by Post reporters Carol Leonnig and Philip Rucker. Milley was worried Trump was stoking unrest in the days before the January 6th riot and that he would use it as an excuse to invoke the Insurrection Act and call out the military, according to CNN. So, why? I mean, honestly, that's probably what President Trump should have done, to be quite frank. Our country is that far gone. The corruption is that rampant. The permanent bureaucracy deep state is that unaccountable and out of control that's probably what needed to happen. Yet here you have the top military official in our country basically saying that he wouldn't have done it and that they were all going to, do what they had to prevent it from happening. And I'm going to read you the statement from President Trump after this about this exact story, and you're going to want to hear that. But it goes on to say, quote, "They may try, but they're not going to effing succeed," unquote, Milley reportedly said. Quote, "You can't do this without the military. You can't do this without the CIA and the FBI. We're the guys with the guns," unquote. Oh, really? So I guess we the American people are just hostages to the military and the CIA and the FBI. That's basically what we are. We're captors. We have been captured by the military, the CIA, and the FBI. Because according to Mark Milley, right, this disgraced general, that they have the guns and we don't, right? Even though I guess Second Amendment, we do have the guns, but because they're the guys with the guns, they control us. Oh, so maybe that's why they don't want us to have guns, right? That's why they want to get rid of the Second Amendment. Everything's starting to make sense now as to why they want to disarm the population, because once they truly are the only guys with the guns, then there's absolutely nothing we can do about it, right? Then the military and the CIA and the FBI can just do whatever they want to us completely without any any kind of repercussions. Yeah. So these are all quotes that are coming out of this book, which it'll talk about in this article more. It says, Milley also reportedly told aides ahead of a pro-Trump Million MAGA march in November that he feared it could be the modern, or the, quote, modern American equivalent of brown shirts in the streets, unquote, referring to the pro-Nazi militia supporting Hitler's rise. This is what we're dealing with here. This man is deranged. This man is demented. This man is maniacally off his rocker, to say it lightly. Breitbart News reached out to Milley's spokesman for comment on Wednesday afternoon, but did not receive a response. However, a defense official, quote, close to the general, unquote, told CNN, of course, who else would they tell, that Milley will not publicly address the book and did not dispute that Milley, quote, engaged in activities and communications that are not a part of the traditional portfolio of a chairman in the final days of the Trump presidency, unquote. It says, the official did say, however, that Milley is, quote, not going to sit in silence while people try to use the military against Americans, unquote, and that while he, quote, tried his hardest to actively stay out of politics, if the events that occurred brought him into the arena temporarily, so be it, unquote. Yeah, the official said Milley was not calling Trump a Nazi. Oh, of course not. He's just calling all the Americans that support President Trump brown shirts and saying that he was preventing the next Reichstag. Yeah, but not calling him Hitler. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Not calling Trump a Nazi, but he felt he had no choice but to respond given his concerns that the rhetoric used by Trump and his supporters could lead to such an environment, according to CNN. Well, what else do you want?